The country is at a crossroads. Bill O'Reilly calls it a change moment. We have things that we have to talk about, and you cannot do it with one side. Conversation has to be part of the cure. Stephen A. Smith, Bill O'Reilly, former Senator Joe Manchin, who I asked as a special favor to come and kind of be a fair broker for us throughout the night of what he's hearing. Republican Jim Jordan, Ohio. Very good to have you, sir.
With you.
Ro Khanna, Democrat, California. Very good to have you, sir.
Thank you.
And Madeleine Dean, Democrat, Pennsylvania. We had Senator John Fetterman. It is good to have his companion in the House here with us. Thank you very much for dealing with us. I was saying I have a sister, Madeline. This is Madeleine, okay? I say it wrong, she comes at me here. I say it wrong, then my sister comes at me there. So it is good to have each and all. Let me just start with this, and then I'll let the gentleman take it away. Mr. Jordan,
yeah.
I know that this nominally sits in the Senate, but really, this is about what was ignored in what used to be called the Big Beautiful Bill. Now you're calling it like the Working Families Tax Cut Bill, whatever you want to call it. This is about the House addressing health care. Do you believe that is going to happen anytime soon?
The shutdown, actually? No, I think Chuck Schumer's in certainly past Saturday. They got this crazy left wing. You're the one who said the rational left a little bit earlier. You had to make this distinction. The crazy left's having this rally in town. So I don't think anytime this week. We'll see what happens next week. Some members are now talking about, some Democrat members I talked to today in the gym actually, talking about November 1st. But we're having a government shutdown over a policy concern that doesn't take effect until next year. So open up the government, don't jeopardize the troops' pay, and let's have the debate. But this idea that we're going to keep extending, I heard the senator talking about the Obamacare. I mean, remember, everything they told us about Obamacare turned out to be wrong. Like your plan, keep your plan. Like your doctor, keep your doctor. Neither of those. Premiums are going to go down. President Obama said premiums will go down on average $1,500. Well, if that's the case, why'd they have to do this subsidy, expand it, extend it, and now they're trying to extend it a second time. So
that's because it needs tweaks that you guys would never do because you campaigned on destroying.
When you have something that doesn't work, I think you have a discussion.
But you got to fix it.
Well, you got to fix health care. You don't have to fix that.
But you never tried to fix it. You tried to say, let's get rid of it.
I'm for medical savings account, health savings accounts, more deductible, high deductible plans that will lower the cost and get the kind of plans a lot of families want. They're looking for, if their son or daughter has some major illness, they want coverage for that. But those are the kind of things that I think make sense, empower families, empower people, and actually would bring down costs, bring down premiums.
Silence.
No, I'd like to say one thing to Jim on that. You have the trifecta now. You have the president, Republican, you have the House, and you have the Senate. Yeah. The House works on simple majority. 218 votes, you can do what you want to do. The Senate's always been designed that the minority always had a voice. They had a vote and a voice. Yep. And with that, so whenever they give us something from the House, it comes in hot. And we expect that, whether the Democrats are in control or Republicans. And then the Senate's got to kind of, as George Washington said, get a saucer and cool off that hot tea so we can drink it. So this is where we are right now. I remember our good friend John McCain. When John McCain was sitting in the back before he went out and voted historically in 2017, he went like this. John and I sat back, I came by and I said, John, I said, you know what? I'm not crazy about this Affordable Care Act right now either, but I don't have anything else to vote for. And he says, we got nothing, Joe. And he went out and boom. Now I'm saying, you can make something happen. Yeah. You got the trifecta.
Yeah.
Put some changes in that, put something on the table, set them down and let them make them vote.
Open up the government and let's have the debate. That's how it works. But right now, Chuck Schumer, the only debate that's going on is Chuck Schumer with himself.
Yeah.
Because he voted for this 6 months ago. Yeah. And now he won't vote for the very same thing. No, by the way, talk about compromise in the House. We passed a bill that funds the government at the level the Democrats wanted. And now they're, it's not good enough because we got to shut down the government to get
true, Madeleine?
Policy issue that doesn't take effect.
Is that true, Representative?
And let's be really honest here. I am a Democrat. I am a reasonable Democrat. And we know a couple of things to be true. Republicans have not been in town for weeks. It is stunning to me that, I'm glad you're here, Jim, but most of your colleagues are home or on vacation.
I was here last week. I'm here this week.
The speaker told them all to stay home. Remember, the speaker sent everybody home during Epstein before the deadline for shutdown. And then the week of the shutdown, can you imagine if we ran a company like this? The week of the shutdown, he told his colleagues, stay home. We're done here. And then we had the shutdown. Last week, told them to stay home. This week, told them to stay home. Democrats are here. We want the government open. You have a responsibility to govern. You do have the trifecta. You're failing to govern, and the American people get that this is about health care. You don't have a replacement. You've tried for a dozen years to repeal and replace. In your district, do you know how many people will either lose health?
If it was so good, why did you have to subsidize it, expand the subsidy, and now want to extend and expand it again? If it was such a good thing, why did everything you tell us turn out to be false? If it was such a good deal.
Talk to your constituents. More than 50,000 of your constituents.
I'm talking to you about the facts.
That's exactly the problem here, are the facts. More than 50,000 of your constituents will either lose health care or their premiums will be increased dramatically. 50,000 in a single congressional district.
Let me bring Ro Khanna in, Jim, but let's do it through the audience and get a question, Ro, and then I'll direct it to Ro Khanna. Sir, give us your name, Jack. Well, I just did that for you. Tell us where you're from and what's your question for Ro Khanna.
Hello, my name is Jack Chris, and I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I'm an air traffic controller for the Federal Aviation Administration.
Thank you.
Been there 16 years. I've also been through the Obama shutdown and also the Trump shutdown in the previous. And my question is, under the current political climate, do you think that this shutdown could actually be longer than the previous shutdowns due to the external pressures, political pressures that we're having an effect right now? Because I am actually driving DoorDash when I get off work just to kind of make sure I can pay for my daughter's tuition.
Well, Jack, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for making it clear this is not a game.
No, it's not.
There are people like you who aren't going to get paid, aren't getting paid.
True.
There are troops. I was talking to the mom of someone who served in the Army, and she didn't know until the president figured out how to jigger the funds whether she was going to be able to pay for her kids' groceries. So one of the things I think Senator Manchin said that I agree with is, why is it that every member of Congress and senator isn't locked into the Capitol complex until we get a deal?
Right.
Well, why is it in the other previous shutdowns, I used to have my phone on and we used to get a text for voting on something. This speaker, and I like this, I came in with the speaker, he's a man of faith, but he's literally shut down the Congress. And he's shut down the Congress because he doesn't want to swear Adelita Grijalva in because they don't want to vote on the release of the Epstein files. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Now,
Jim, is that true?
No.
Then why won't he swear her in?
Well, typically the swearing is I've been a part of is when the full Congress is there. They're there with their family and they get to make a speech, their maiden speech or first speech when they're sworn as a new member. That's the only ones I've been there for. There have been a few times where new members were sworn in what's called a pro forma session. But this
Two from Florida.
This is about Chuck Schumer not voting for what he voted for.
Can we go back to Jack?
The facts are so basic. He said I was for it. Now he won't vote for it.
All right, I got you. Madeline,
I want to go back to Jack. Thank you for your work. I talked to regional air traffic controllers. I'm from the Philadelphia region, and we also have Reading Regional. We have some other regional airports. I talked to an air traffic controller. I have been to the tower. You guys are so dedicated. You work long hours, high stress, and I know with this shutdown, some of your support staff have been furloughed because they're non-essential. We are asking the world of you, and you keep the skies safe. Is it possible? Yes. Is it possible that this goes longer? I came in 19. I was sworn in the longest shutdown in government history under Trump administration 1. 35 days. I met with air traffic controllers. They were doing garage sales to make sure, selling stuff out of their houses to make sure they could feed their families. It is absolutely irresponsible. Why are the Republicans not here negotiating?
Well, Jim, you know why no one believes that Jim's a great debater, by the way, and I always am concerned when he comes into the committees. But you know why no one believes this Chuck Schumer thing? The country thinks he's too ineffective to actually be shutting things down. Does anyone believe that the Democrats actually are like running things? You got Donald Trump, you got the Republicans in charge, the Republicans in the Senate, and so this argument that the Democrats are blocking things is just not believable.
Did you hear hear what the senator said? To get something passed in the Senate, you need 60 votes. The first guest on Chris's show was one of those Democrat senators who voted with Republican, but they need 5 more to get there. So you got to understand basic civics, how the Congress works. You got to get 60 votes to pass something.
You could do it.
You can try to blame. You can try to say Chuck Schumer doesn't know what he's doing. But that's not how it works.
We should have the real thing. Look, why is it that in this country you can do with 51 votes, you can pass the president's appointees, you can confirm judges, you can have the budget reconciliation,
Chris,
you can have the budget reconciliation to give tax breaks, but we can't.
Is for getting rid of the filibuster.
We can't do a 50. I'm for getting 51 votes
because he's not in the
keep
Senate.
the government open.
Right.
Because he's not in the Senate. If he was in the Senate, he wouldn't say it.
Oh, yeah, wait. On this, you get rid of the filibuster, you lose the holy grail of democracy.
I didn't say I was for it.
I know that. I disagree on that. You can't get rid of this.
I'll tell you one thing before you leave, Jack.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack, let me say one thing. Can I say one thing?
Yeah, Senator wants to talk to you, but Jack, let me tell you something. He is emblematic of who wins the midterms. If whoever wins the vote of the man who has to drive DoorDash because of what Congress put him in as a position is going to win the midterms. Yeah. Whoever he feels can get him out of a situation. Now, we all know, makes you want to cry that he has to do that when he's doing something that keeps us alive. That's what's going to be what wins the midterms. I'll tell you that.
Jack, I'll say one thing to you. A person came to me the other day and he says, listen, if the greatest country on earth, the United States of America, can get Hamas and the Israelis in the same room, make a deal, we sure as heck can get the Democrats and Republicans in a room and make a deal.
So there's a lot of politics in play here because the Republicans feel that they're gaining, and CNN actually the other night had a poll that showed most Americans are blaming Democrats for the shutdown. That could change, okay? So when the Republicans see that, the urgency of this drops because the midterms loom. But I want to ask the 3 Democrats here. This is what I think is underlying. I don't know if you saw the Oregon Treasury report.
2.5. 2.5.
Well, we got 1.5 Republicans and 2.5 Democrats. We're good.
Let's make a deal.
Oregon releases a budget, and in the budget, it shows the state of Oregon is spending $1.5 billion for the years 25, 26, 7 to give free health care to undocumented migrants. In the same budget, the state police get 50% less than that. There is a deep suspicion on the part of the Republican Party that the health care system is being gamed. It's a con, okay? And that all of this money going into Obamacare is being used by the blue states to do things they're not supposed to do.
Madeline, is it a shell game?
Wait. Here's the question.
That's not the law, and that is not true.
But the stats are the stats. Oregon said we are going to spend $1.5 billion to give health care.
We're the federal government. The federal government does not allow that.
Democrats have said there's no money going, and that's not true. So
you know where the money goes?
2.5 Democrats.
Emergency care.
Congresswoman.
Let her answer the question.
It's a Ronald Reagan bill. Health care for those who come into our emergency room that they don't die.
It's not emergency room. It's not emergency room.
You're talking about
These
Oregon.
are subsidies
the federal government.
in the state of Oregon. So I believe, and remember, people believe what they want to believe, I believe that the goal of the Democratic Party is to have socialized medicine in this country, one payer. And right now on CNN, you have a communist town hall with AOC and Bernie Sanders.
I thought I was going to that town hall. I really thought I was. Chris, what happened?
So my question is, to you,
this is where right and left come to be reasonable.
Is he still here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill,
Wait, here's my question.
I said you had mellowed down since the Fox days.
You want a one-payer government-run health care?
Great question.
Yes or no?
You know what I want?
Yes, I do want Medicare for all. You know who else?
Want it.
You know who else wants it? Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Okay, that's
Marjorie
great.
Taylor Greene is talking about
one who wants it.
Wait a second.
You want it, Congress?
No, I want 2 things. I want an actual budget. I am newly an appropriator.
You're drifting.
No, I'm not drifting. I'm telling people what they need to know.
You want socialized
Appropriators are supposed to put forward bills, have them pass, go over to the Senate, reconcile where you can.
This is a dodge. Come on.
It's not a dodge at all. I want everybody in America to have health care.
Okay.
You know what, Martin?
The only way that happens is a one-payer Canadian system.
Let me just.
The only way it happens.
Bill, you know
one of my favorite Martin Luther King quotes is the greatest injustice, the greatest inequity is injustice in health.
Okay, health care is a human right. That's fine.
Then you must be for single payer or health care for all.
The half Democrat right here. Do you want
Bill, did that mean
socialized medicine?
No, I don't. But I do want to revamp the medical system that we have it now because people don't know what they're paying for. They don't know what they're getting.
Okay, but you don't want the government controlling.
We can fix that, right. The government basically has to offer.
So it's two
has to be
against
compassion.
Bill, you know Donald Trump in his book?
I don't know him.
He called for, read his book. He says we should have the Canadian single-payer system before he became president.
Is that before or after we take over Canada?
That's a fair point. I don't know. Maybe that's his plan.
Yes.
Maybe that's his plan. But look, Marjorie Taylor Greene and a lot of Republicans, they're saying this is broken. You had $71 billion of profit by insurance companies. Ordinary Americans' premiums are doubling. They're still paying deductibles, and they're saying this is a deadweight cost on our country.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this is the divide. This is why the stuff doesn't get done.
But you throw the word socialized in there.
All right.
Because it's a
Canadian
poison pill. No, even Canadian. See, this is all code. This is
not
all
code. That's what they pay.
It's code. It's code. If she says, yes, I want socialized, all over TikTok, they're socialists. And that's why nothing gets done, because it's not about the practicality of the purpose. It's just about name calling and which side is worse. Are you going to say something?
I just want to say.
There it is.
I'm trying to be very respectful to everybody because they deserve it.
Why?
Let me say that. No, because you deserve it. But let me say this. I don't think Washington understands how ticked off we truly are. Right. Think about the conversation that we're having right now. You brought up the single-payer system, emulating Canada. We're looking at a president that just gave $20 billion to Argentina. Mm-hmm. We're hearing about or witnessing what I consider to be a retribution tour. And even though to some degree I don't blame him because of how people went after him, still it appears to be counterproductive. We're listening to this kind of stuff while a young man walked up to the microphone and said that he had to leave here to go and work on DoorDash to help pay for his daughter's tuition. Meanwhile, everybody up here getting paid. But he ain't. This is this kind of stuff right here. That's how you know, and I'm not accusing any of you directly or personally of feeling this way. I'm just talking about the apparatus that is Washington, the nation's capital. This is why you have so many Americans, excuse my language, so pissed off at Washington, because somehow, some way you get to have these conversations, engage in specific elements of it to talk about what we need to do to get things better. Our debt is $37.8 trillion. Somehow, some way, the taxpayer's been paying this, been throwing money, because we all look at our check, and it's been going to the government. And somehow, some way, you're supposed to be doing something constructive and productive enough to make sure that we don't have that kind of deficit. It isn't happening. A government shutdown is going on right now. A man has to work on DoorDash when he's really an air traffic controller that we applauded. And we're up here talking about how much some money is going to cost. And the only person that don't have a check coming is him. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a break.
All right. We'll go to the audience. It's good. I wanted to sit down. So, tell us your name and tell us what the question is.
Sandy Monachino. I'm from Binghamton, New York. I'm going to pivot a little bit, change the subject. The recent indictments of Comey and Letitia James and soon-to-be imminent Bolton. Do you think, and this is to the panel in general, do you think that it's going to have a positive effect for Trump or a negative effect for Trump? You think it's going to help him or hurt him politically?
Jim.
Yeah, it's not about who it helps or who it hurts politically. It's about applying the facts to the law, and when people have done wrong, they get indicted, they get prosecuted. I think it's just that simple. Whether you look at Comey, whether it's Letitia James or maybe Bolton, we'll see. But I think there are others who have maybe in the same category. I think John Brennan may not have been square with Congress when he testified. Certainly some questions I asked him in a deposition last Congress relative to a different issue, but we got into some of the things that have been brought forth here recently. What I do know is Jim Comey is where it all started. 10 years ago, Jim Comey took a dossier, a document paid for by the other party's campaign through Perkins Coie Law Firm, through Fusion GPS, to a foreigner, Christopher Steele, who put together this garbage document. He took that to the secret court, the FISA court, to get a warrant to spy on the other party's campaign. You're not supposed to do that in America. That is not a good thing. He did it. And then, after Trump wins the election, in spite of all that, they changed the intelligence community assessment. ODNI Director Gabbard just gave us that. That is all factual. That is all
Jim, I'm not disagreeing with your analysis. I'm not a particular fan of what Comey did, but that's not applying the facts to the law. That's not what he's charged with.
I'm talking about Jim Comey. I understand.
But I'm saying, you're saying you're pissed at Jim for what he did politically, and now you want to prosecute him.
No, that's not the question. The question from the gentleman is it going to hurt Trump? And it's not going to hurt Trump because the MAGA people hate these people.
All right, but that's not justice. Madeline, what's your take on it?
With line
that's not fairness in the law. Madeline, go ahead.
If you don't mind, what I want to say is, I thank you for that question. I care a little bit more about, will it hurt the American people and our system of justice, the independence of our system of justice, the Department of Justice. I had the honor of serving on the Judiciary Committee with Mr. Jordan, now Chairman Jordan, for 2 or 3 terms. And if this same setting had happened with Biden as president, the howling that would have been going on about the failure of independence, for the president to be tweeting who he wants indicted, who he wants investigated. We have a failure of independence. So will it help Mr. Trump in his popularity? I don't know. But I think it is very gravely harmful to an independent Department of Justice.
We've got to stop the lawfare in this country. Both parties.
I agree.
Both parties. You know, when we take back power, Jim, we're not going to prosecute you if you don't do anything. If you don't do anything terrible, and if you get in power, you shouldn't be prosecuting Democrats. This is what they do in third world countries. To criminalize politics, and we've got to get past this, and we've got to try to figure out how are we going to move forward. How are we going to actually remain the preeminent country? How are we going to heal some of the divides?
I would just say the rule of law is what we all so different than any place else in the world. What we have, we believe in the rule of law. Madam Justice is supposed to be blind. If you look on every courthouse, you'll see her blind. Now it's peekaboo madam now, okay? Looking to see if she has the right person that's going to be trying her. That can't happen. We have to have faith in.
You think it's okay? You think it's okay for the Justice Department to spy on 8 members of the United States Senate?
Not at all.
You think it's okay for the Justice Department to take a phone of a sitting member of Congress? I mean, that's what we were dealing with in the last. You talk about lawfare and the weaponization of the justice system. That's what happened. We sent a letter today to Jack Smith because 2 of his lieutenants who were part of the special counsel investigation wouldn't answer our questions when we brought them in and deposed them. 70-some times, each of them exercised their Fifth Amendment liberties. One of the questions was, how many other members of Congress did you spy on? I exercised my Fifth Amendment right. I'm not going to answer that question.
Jim, I think
that was one of the questions. Was it political when you went after Trump? I'm going to exercise my Fifth Amendment right. Why wouldn't they answer? They answered a bunch of questions, but 70-sometimes they did it, and those were the type of questions they wouldn't answer. And now if we look into that, somehow it's a weaponization of government? No way.
Looking into it's fine, but getting the court system and changing the court system until you have the right person that'll get the verdict that you want is not the right way to do it.
Well, that's fair. Shame to prosecute. This is the truth. Hello, the truth. Trump wanted to get those people. That's the truth. Yeah. He wanted to get them. Now, what you guys have to decide is whether that's revenge or retribution. Retribution is righteous. Revenge is not. I agree with Mr. Jordan here. Comey is as corrupt as J. Edgar Hoover. And you read my book, Killing the Mob, you'll see how corrupt J. Edgar Hoover was, okay? Comey was off the chart. So if I'm president and Comey has cost my family $150 million, I'm going to get that SOB. And I got grounds to get him.
But that's not what, the last
Doesn't
part.
matter
The
what
last,
nuance.
the last part, no, listen, as a lawyer, justice is all about nuance, okay? And the idea that, and again, I'm just telling you, if we were in a court of law right now, Madeline Dean and Ro Khanna are both much better lawyers than I've ever attempted to be. But I'll tell you this, none of this would be allowed in. And I'll tell you why, because it is irrelevant to the charges at hand. You charged him with lying about something in front of Congress. Yep. Either you have the facts that can prove it or you don't. And what is behind why you want to do it is why people hate all of us. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a question for them? Good.
I have a question for the entire...
Good. Is it about something different?
It is.
Even better.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What is your name and where are you from?
My name's Isaac Dellinger. I'm a student at the Catholic University of America here in the district.
Right.
My question's about the National Guard. There's data that shows that violence is actually increased when you bring in the military instead of law enforcement. And so I want to know what you guys think about Trump's decision to do that in our cities and what the American people should know about that decision.
Let me just say, as a former governor, the 10th Amendment is really something sacred to all of us as governors or former governors. That's our state's rights. We have the right to basically govern ourselves. If the President of the United States calls me and says we have a national emergency, I'll give you a perfect example, Katrina. When Katrina hit down, he called us all. He called me up and asked me. I said, absolutely. So we sent C-130s down, troops down, communication for Louisiana. That, you know what, who pays? The federal government pays me, reimburses me for sending my troops because they're on my payroll, state payroll. I don't know what happened here. I don't know. The president hasn't determined it. If he'd have called me and said he had an emergency, I would have answered it. But if I didn't get that call, I wouldn't have been volunteered. That's all I can say. But I can say this about crime. I want to live in a crime-free neighborhood, a crime-free state. Okay? And if we're not doing the job, here's the question should be asked. If you're coming to my state, I need you to help me, Mr. President. Come to my state. Thank you. Comes in there, brings the guard in. We clean up the area. They leave me in 30 days. We go back to the same. Where's my resources? How can I maintain this? Can you help me? The questions aren't being asked. The right questions aren't being asked. Mr. President, once you come and help me, what are you going to leave me with? Can you help me then? And I'll cut the budgets back to where it's almost impossible to maintain that type of service.
The question was, did it work? Definitely worked here in D.C. 6-week time frame, carjackings went down 86%. Definitely worked here in D.C. Absolutely. Other areas, the president, I think, does have the prerogative, this is Justice Department opinion, has the prerogative because the three-part test is an or test, and the last element says if there's an imminent threat to federal law enforcement or there's a hindrance of them doing their job, which is happening in so many cities to ICE agents, or there's a threat to the facilities like ICE facilities in those districts or in those cities, then the president can send a National Guard. And that's what he's doing. So I think it definitely worked in this city. We all know that. We've seen the stats. And frankly, people have been out in the city walking to restaurants. It was just a safer when the Guard was there. So
Jim, if bringing in the National Guard is what lowers crime.
He's not mobilizing his guards at the state. I don't think the states have basically, Illinois has been mobilized, their guard. It's been out.
That's right. It's outside guards. But can you point to...
question being ironed out.
But Jim, you've been doing this a long time, okay? Have you ever heard that a way to lower crime anywhere is by bringing in the military? Have you ever heard that offered up as a suggestion anywhere at any time, except in Venezuela?
This is just common sense. If you have more law enforcement,
law enforcement is not a guy in a basic dress uniform who is trained to kill.
Well,
okay, that's a different thing.
So the justification has to be there for cities outside of the district. The district's a different entity. It's a special entity. Right. The district, the president can bring in the National Guard like he did. Crime went down. Those are facts. When you're looking at Chicago or Portland or some other city, then there has to be a reason that fits the law. And the reason is when there's a threat and a hindrance to law enforcement, federal law enforcement, exercising federal law and enforcing federal law. And that's the justification that the president's using. That's straight from the Justice Department, legal opinion, Office of Legal Counsel. That's their opinion, and that's why he's able to do it in those places.
Just now, so you know, Madeline, it is two separate issues, right? One is, how do we fight crime? The political mistake for Democrats was saying no, as if you therefore are saying you don't have a crime problem, you don't want any help. It was a bad look. The right answer should have been, yes, I want your help, Mr. President, but how? I don't want National Guard from another state. I want the DEA, I want Vice, I want whatever I need for a gang task force for Chicago or wherever. They didn't make that nuanced change. They took a loss on it. But this second issue of federal assets, it's a separate issue. Mine is the crime point. Madeline, do you want to talk about crime?
On crime. Crime was down in D.C., and I like your approach, which should have been, I want to get crime down even more. How can I help you, D.C.? How can I help you, mayor and council? What actually works? Temporarily having National Guard in is not the answer. In my city of Philadelphia, crime is down 40-some%. The president's threatening to send National Guard to us. We know that it is a misuse of our National Guard, of our military, to have them doing law enforcement operations on our streets. And for our student, I think of that student at Catholic University. It doesn't feel good that you have military on your streets walking around with heavy armament, and obviously they're in just particular areas. It's somewhat for show. I wish that the president would say, I want to help you in all of your cities, Philadelphia, everywhere. One of the things that I had during appropriations was a reinstatement of $100 million, which are grants for violence interruption. We know that those grants, they're based right in the communities. We know those grants work to reduce gun violence, violent crime, and not one Republican would vote for it. They don't want to reduce crime in that way. And the president is doing this for, I think, a most uncomfortable, most un-American show.
Let me share this. If I had to guess which guest I would have walk off tonight, I would have never guessed it would have been Stephen A. Smith. I want you to know that. It was not my guess. But I respect the point that he made. I respect even more that he came back. I want to thank each of you for making the case to this audience and to all the American families at home about where it is. So they see at a minimum. They may like, they may not like, but they hear you talking about what matters to them. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you, Chris.
Representative Dean, thank you. Representative Khanna, Representative Jones, thank you very much. Jim Jordan, thank you.